what to do if they don't reply to your text message. So this video is for you if you're thinking about reaching out to your divine masculine or your divine feminine. But before we jump in, I just want to say this isn't going to apply to higher level soulmate relationships. So a lot of my videos, I have been talking a lot about higher level soulmates and how important these relationships are as well. They're just as beautiful as the twin flame dynamic, but in a different way. And when it comes to text communication, usually the high level soulmate partnership or dynamic is very, very different. There is no fear of texting your higher level soulmate. There is no fear that they're not going to reply. You might notice that they don't reply occasionally, and then you just reach out as you would do a friend or, whoever, and you would just say, hey, is everything okay? With your twin flame, it feels very different, and I'm going to talk to you about why that is in this video. There are three main things that I want to say. So why they might not reply, and what you need to know about it, and what you need to do in that scenario. But before we jump in then, hi everyone, for those of you who are new here, I'm Charlie. I'm a relationship, love and money coach, and the reason I coach across all of these areas is because these are the areas in which we've been most disempowered from and disconnected from within the matrix programming system. And as a mother to two daughters, it is one of my missions in life to show them that they can be, do and have anything they desire once they exit the matrix, let's say. So what to do if your divine masculine or divine feminine doesn't reply? Oh, one other thing. So this question actually came from a follower of the temple over on Instagram. We're over at the temple we built _ I hope to see some of you there. So what to do then if your divine masculine or divine feminine doesn't reply to your text message? First, when I'm sharing these stories, it's never as a way to say, look how amazing the divine feminine is. Oh, that bad divine masculine. That for me is old twin flame narrative. It is not of God. It is not of love. And it's a narcissistic actually trait of the divine feminine to look at the masculine and think about how much help he needs or how wounded he is. Like, God did not make us judge and jury. I said this over on stories the other day. It is not our job to sit in judgment and condemnation of the masculines. And when we do that, we are in separation consciousness. You're not in your power. You're not seeing how you are creating or showing up for the dynamic. Instead, there's so much blame and projection. And as twin flames, we're here to step out of that. Like, we have to do better. We have to uphold our masculines, whether that's, our twin flames, our soulmates, our high level soulmates, or even just, your brother, normal person, 3D, whatever. We're here to uphold them. We can't aim to create a better world and at the same time sit in judgment and saying they're not grown up yet, they're Peter Pan, their behavior is toxic. Even if you believe those things to be true, belief being the key word, even if you believe that to be true, how does it change if you continue to sit in and perpetuate that story? How does it move them forward? If you really cared, wouldn't you be sat there trying to believe something different about them every day? And I know that sounds a little bit dismissive, and it really does depend on what stage of the journey that you're on, how you receive that message. But you really are the creator. And it starts with your internal belief system about how you look at the world, about how you look at relationships, about how you look at the masculine figure or energy in general. And when we can start to shift that, everything shifts, including your twin flame dynamic, including, perhaps calling in a higher level soulmate, whatever it is. Anyway, rant over. What to do if your divine masculine doesn't reply, and also masculines who want to reach out to their feminines as well. So the first thing then is this. If you're already asking the question, what to do if they don't reply, you're already going into a situation or circumstance with the belief and the assumption that they might not reply. Now, most of the time, it's easier to believe our fears when we are conditioned by a fear-based environment than it is to trust and love. This is why twin flames exist. This is what coming out of the matrix is. This is what coming out of the programming looks like. This is what separation consciousness and coming out of that into union consciousness, unity consciousness looks like. And so what's going on is that if you're assuming that they might not reply, then there's every chance they might not reply. They feel your energy. They know what you're thinking. This has been proven to me through observing my clients and my own journeys with my higher level soulmate, with my twin flame, over and over and over again. They will reflect back to you exactly what you are believing about them. And then when you come back together into each other's lives in some way, they will tell you, they will confirm everything you were thinking. They will tell you in one way or another that that's what they were thinking. They really are your mirror soul. And so if you're going in with the assumption that they might not reply, you might not get a reply. That's how it works. And this is why it's so important to keep your thoughts clean about your communication. And the reason why we give into fear and ego so easily is because in our twin flame dynamic, what happens is when we meet our twin flame, we are still very deep in the programming, if you like. A lot of us have just come out of narcissistic relationships. Perhaps we're still in narcissistic relationships. Perhaps we're in toxic relationships, or we've experienced a lot of toxic relationships in our lives, whether that's through parents, whether that's through past partners, current partners, whatever it is. This real separation consciousness that kind of poisoned us all against one another. And so when you meet your twin, because you're exhibiting yourself these kinds of beliefs and behaviors about relationships, about a partner, about other people, about yourself and what you are worthy of and what you truly deserve, and you are exhibiting essentially, as a big generalization, broken behaviors, and your twin is as well, what tends to happen is that you go through periods of poor communication. And we have beautiful forms of communication as well. So this, like I talked about in the last video, this is where our sixth sense steps online and all of our other senses are activated. But we have this blueprint for our twin flame dynamic based on early stages where everything was rocky. And it's so difficult to override that initial programming. And twin flames are are the only relationship or dynamic that can do it. And as I've talked about before, in most relationships, you kind of start strong and you start good and everything's amazing. And then it kind of crumbles as time goes on. With twins, it's the opposite if you pay attention to the lessons and you don't give up. So what happens is we have this almost like a blueprint of poor communication, which happens in the early stages or the early foundational years of the twin flame dynamic. And because of that, because our twin flame has showed us they don't text back, they take days to text back, they aren't great at communicating, we believe they bury their feelings, we believe they don't know how to express themselves, we believe so many things about how our twin communicates. This essentially becomes your dominant belief system and leads you to asking questions such as, what happens if they do not reply? And again, it's not your twin's fault. It's not your fault. This is just based on an entire, generations lived with separation programming, essentially, where we don't trust that people can communicate in healthy ways with us. That's what we've been shown by our parents, by family, by society, movies, whatever it is. So it's nobody's fault. It's not that your twin flame didn't communicate. It's not that you didn't communicate. It's not that they reflected you. It's just this is the programming that we have gained as a collective. And this is what we're coming out of. But it has instilled in us this fear of, and then it reflects in the twin flame dynamic in the early stages where instantly almost, there's problems with communication. There are communication fears that then bubble up. And then these fears, these experiences solidify into beliefs. And I always know when a client is in fear based on the kind of questions that they're asking. So if a client says to me, what if my divine masculine or divine feminine doesn't reply to my text? It is reflective of the belief that they have, which is, that person might not reply to me. And now there could be a million reasons for this. It might be something to do with their own self-confidence, their own self-concept. It might be to do with, like I said, the programming or the experience that you've received about your twin, or still in that belief system about how relationships in general have to be hard, have to be difficult. Men can't communicate, or women over-communicate, or women are too in their feelings, or men don't access their feelings. This kind of wonky belief systems that we've inherited are just absolute nonsense. And I'm going to be talking more about this soon. But if you are holding that belief that your divine counterpart might not reply, that is what your twin flame will automatically reflect back to you. And because it is reflective of a fear of you being in ego and wanting to protect, because that's what you're doing. When you're asking the question, what happens if somebody doesn't reply to me? You're looking for ways to protect yourself after that event occurs, which means you're expecting that event to occur, which means, what do you think is likely to happen? They feel your energy. You can transmit your thoughts to them, and vice versa. You know you're always receiving your thoughts. We talk about this receiving their thoughts, sorry. We talk about this all the time on the twin flame journey. Higher level soulmates too, but again, like I said, higher level soulmates don't have this communication issue. So you need to change your dominant belief system that even proposes the question, what if they don't reply? And the way you do that is through rewiring your neural pathways through the use of repetition, which is, as we all know now, affirmations. Yes, you can literally affirm your way out of anything, especially with a twin flame dynamic. It is the number one way to change your belief system. The simplest way, it's easy, it's free, you don't need to do anything crazy, you just need to affirm and believe it. That's it. Now, why people struggle with that? I kind of get it. Obviously, working with so many clients, I do understand why. And I had one client say to me recently, why do I have to do all this work? This is so hard. This is so difficult. Affirming all damn day, every day. Like, why? Why do I have to do this? Why can't it just be easy? The thing is, you're always manifesting anyway. We are creators. We are continual creators. Our God state of being means we are always in creation. So everything you see in your life right now is a manifestation of previous thoughts and beliefs that you have held because you're always thinking. So you can choose to sit and think negative things, think bad things, think fear-based things if you want. But if the reality you're currently experiencing is not what you want, based on those thoughts, wouldn't it make sense to choose different thoughts? That's all you're doing. That's all affirming is. That's all manifestation is. It's just choosing to think differently about a person, place, situation, thing, circumstance that you want to experience. It's just choosing a different belief system. And the way that you can do that, the way you override your default programming, is by closing down the stuff that made you think the old way previously. So TV, news, particular types of conversations, your lifestyle, your habits, they help you to cultivate a certain set of belief systems. And if you don't like what you're experiencing, change the belief system by changing the thought. If you're always thinking and you have to think anyway, you might as well choose good thoughts. You might as well choose the positive. And if you want to really ground into that and solidify that belief system, you affirm it until it becomes normal. Or as I tell my clients, until you get bored of saying it, because it's like, well, I know this now. I feel it. I can imagine it. It's real. I don't need to live in a place of lack, of scarcity, of they might not reply. So that's the first thing. And the main thing, really, if you're going in with the assumption that they might not reply, that is reflective of your belief system that you think they are not going to. They are likely they will not, because you're trying to protect yourself, which means you're leaning into the assumption that they probably aren't going to reply, and you need to look for ways to safeguard. That's what's happening. The second thing you need to know is that it doesn't matter, or it only matters as much as you believe it does. So you have to decide in that moment, if it doesn't go to plan, if it doesn't get a response, does it really matter? So if you are just saying a kind of generic, hey, how are you message, doesn't matter that they didn't respond? No, probably not, because if you think about it again, how did you show up? You have to take responsibility for how you showed up. If you send a loving message or a warm message or a nice message, does it matter that they don't respond? If you're trying to make plans to meet up, does it matter if they don't respond? And what I've come to realize and understand is that we place so much pressure and value on these text messages, on this text communication. And I think it's because in the twin flame dynamic, sometimes this feels like the only communication that we have, and we pin so much hope into a text, which again, if you think about it, it's pixels on a screen. It's a message through a lump of metal. And a lot of my divine feminines, tell me in the comments below if this is you, are at that stage now where we're not wanting text communication anymore anyway. I need to feel someone's heart. I need to feel a hug. I need to feel that someone is showing up for me. Pick up the phone and let me hear your voice, hear your warmth, hear your energy. It's still nice to receive, of course, but the point is that we are placing so much, or have previously, let's manifest that, placed so much emphasis on the meaning and value of essentially what? Pixels on a screen. The point is that you have to decide, does receiving a reply matter that much to me? Do I have to place so much emphasis on this one response? Or can I just decide, can I just affirm, first of all, that my twin and I are always in communication, because we are, Can I just decide that, of course, they want to hear from me. Of course, they're happy to hear from me. Of course, they're excited to hear from me. Of course, they're going to love my message. Yes, you can. Can I just decide that whatever happens, everything's good? Everything is okay. Like, there's nothing to worry about. Maybe that person had a bad day, or maybe they were scared that you want to talk about what happened in the past. Maybe, this one text message, even though they don't reply, is actually leading to future communication because you're showing that you still care. Maybe they're just shocked and surprised to hear from you. Maybe they're out doing their Christmas shopping and it's not the right time to reply. And then by the time they get home, they're in their heads about it and they don't know what to say. And, maybe they take a few days and maybe they don't reply instantly, but they are replying. Does it really matter if one time they don't reply? Because this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, whether they reply or not, to ground into who you are becoming, who you want to be. Do you want to be somebody who tells yourself the story of, they didn't reply, they didn't care about me, that's toxic, they must not care about me, they are an asshole, they are, they're cold, they are just living their life and they obviously don't care about me whatsoever. Do you really want to keep perpetuating these separationist beliefs, thoughts, fears, feelings? Is that the experience that you want to cultivate? Or do you want to experience instead, they didn't reply, it doesn't matter, they're obviously busy, I'll try again in a few days? Or it doesn't matter that they didn't reply, I know they'll reply eventually, I know they'll appreciate that text message. And again, this is what unconditional love is. You have to be strong in that. You have to be rooted in that, like a tree. You can't be knocked over by a breeze. And essentially, that's what a text message, pixels on a screen, is. It's a text message. It means nothing. Or it means whatever meaning you give to it. It has the value that you assign to it. So if you can stop placing the pressure on it to be the be-all and end-all of your twin flame communication and dynamic, you're removing that energetic pressure, which enables you to show up in authenticity, in love, in joy, and happiness, sending genuine warmth and care to that person. No expectation of how they're going to show up. I mean, you can expect that they will, you can believe that they will, but if they don't respond as you would wish, it's okay. It doesn't mean anything about the communication between you and them. It doesn't mean they're shut down, they're avoidant, they can't communicate, they need to do healing, they don't care about me. All the stories we tell ourselves based in separation and fear consciousness. Instead, if you just let it go and you say, it doesn't matter, like, I'm safe anyway, I am loved anyway, I am cared for anyway, I trust them anyway, I know they love me anyway, I know they care for me anyway. Which one feels better to you? Yeah, of course it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable to live delusionally. We're taught to live in the 3D. The Matrix program against us is designed to keep us in the 3D. Health, illness, cinema, surround sound, everything is designed to stop us creating from the imagination. And imagination is the only reality. How do you think the first of anything was ever built? The first plane, the first skyscraper? Somebody had a vision. That's imagination. They took inspired action to allow that vision to unfold. So you can choose what value you assign to the fact they are replying or not replying, and you can choose to continue to tell yourself doom stories and separationist stories and stories that don't actually serve love, or you can choose love. The choice is yours. And so really, in my opinion, it doesn't matter whether they don't reply or not. And actually, sometimes the person on the receiving end of the text message, it's very easy for us to assume they don't care. I think that's where most of us are triggered into feeling. Because that's, particularly for the feminine, that's what we've grown up with. We've grown up to some degree with a lack of warmth, with a lack of affection, with a lack of all that consistent, stable love. It was conditional. It was, you need to do well at school. It was, you need to work hard at this. You always need to look a certain way. You need to be presentable. And if not, then you're in trouble. You're a bad person. We were given this perspective of, if you don't act a certain way, you're not lovable. This is where you get to change that. It doesn't mean your twin is any less lovable if they don't reply. In fact, they could be sat there in their heads agonizing what to reply, how to reply. Oh, it's too late to reply. Maybe I should reply. I don't know what to say. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too little. How do we ever move forward from here? And in fact, actually, most of the time, what I've heard from my clients, from my divine masculines, actually, that's more likely to be the case than, and in fact, it's almost always the case, rather than they just don't care. In a true twin flame connection and a higher level soulmate connection also, they always care. Oh my gosh, there is always so much love there. But our natural default is to assume the worst. They don't care. They're having a great time. They don't care about me. Usually the opposite is true. And it's about time we start seeing that and believing that. That's how we come out of separationist culture, separationist programming, being separate from one another. All the, mental illnesses that are caused through separation. So it's actually a really beautiful opportunity and a bit of a test, if you like, from the universe if they don't reply. Not that you want that, don't will that into existence, but that's what I want you to remember. If for whatever reason, and you truly believe you've changed that belief, you truly believe they're always in communication, they're always messaging me, it's fine. If they don't message me, if they don't message back, I'll message them again in a few days and see how they're doing. If you've truly grounded into that belief and they still don't reply, this is a beautiful opportunity for you to show yourself how stable you've become, how trusting you've become, how open you are, and how much love you can still hold for another person, even when they don't act in a certain way. You don't have to follow the programming of your parents anymore. We're creating something different here, right here at the temple. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. If this has been useful, please do leave a comment below. I read all of your comments. Please do leave your likes, shares, and subscribes. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.